me on Saturday morning devotionals, relationships. Elder Sean Polk. I'm excited about this morning. So this morning we're going to conclude the unmarried section, and as we do that, I pray that this has been a blessing to you. Hey, before we get started, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube page. I want to get those numbers up. I want you to help me do that. Also, YouTube page under Elder Sean, and then also Facebook, TikTok. Please subscribe, please subscribe, please subscribe. Share these videos out. I really appreciate all that you're doing. Thank you for your comments to people who have been commenting on my my reels and my little clips and things. Thank you. I appreciate that. In this final step of this journey of unmarrieds, remember we walked through, we started this section of unmarrieds talking about caring for the things of the Lord, that we are undivided. We've determined that we're going to care for the things of the Lord, and then we went into suitability. We talked about how God does not choose your mate for you, but that he wants you to be suitable for the person or people. And then we talked about dating with purpose and purity. We reminded you that premarital sex is not something that you want to be doing if you're looking for that while you're dating and you're trying to go through and really establish yourself, because that premarital sex really hampers your ability to truly get an understanding of who you should walk with. Then we talked about that you want to be healing the heart, that we want to look at that. We realize that we're coming into relationships with baggage in a sense, but we want to make sure that we're whole. It's not fair to try to think that that relationship is going to change or fix me. It's not going to do that. You have to make sure that you're dealing with or have dealt with areas and struggles in your life so that you can come in clean and clear. And then last week we talked about walking in agreement, how that we have to be willing to submit ourselves one to another and really walk in agreement and not being in compromise. And that takes us to the current step, discernment, because you can be spiritually grounded, emotionally aware, morally disciplined, and still make poor relationship decisions if you lack discernment. I'll say it again. You can be spiritually grounded, emotionally aware about who you are, morally disciplined, and still make poor relationship decisions if you lack discernment. Let me define discernment for you as I'm using it. Discernment is the ability to make wise, spirit-led decisions by seeing clearly, seeking counsel, and recognizing what leads towards or away from God. Simply put, discernment is choosing wisely by seeing clearly, seeking counsel, and following what leads you towards God. Discernment is not a feeling. It's not a guess. It's not like, oh, I just feel like we're a good fit, that this is right. Discernment is a process. And when we talk about today, we need to talk about that process because we want to make sure that we are seeing what we're seeing. You know what I'm saying? Got to see what we're seeing. As we start with this discernment, let's look at, first of all, we got to make sure that we have wise counsel. Proverbs 11:14 says, where there is no guidance, a people falls. But in the abundance of counselors, there is safety. See, discernment requires input because emotions distort clarity. You got to have input from some people who are outside the group because your emotions are going to cloud your judgment. Isolation oftentimes feels safe, but isolation is dangerous. Isolation is dangerous. Here's the thing, family. If while you are looking at this person, you are dating, you're involved, and you've already gone to relationship status, if no mature believers know about your relationship, something is wrong. If no mature believer knows about the relationship, really knows about it, if you feel that, hey, you can't share, something's wrong. Now here's the thing. Not everything must be public, but nothing should be completely hidden. Now, I say mature believers. I always say this, an older person. See, your peer group may not be enough because that's your peer group. We talked about this previously. We talked about this in the first time of relationships. We talked about having that accountability partner, making sure in that first subsection about when we first started this, accountability partners, having a person that you can go to, that you can talk with about these things, so that they can give you wise counsel. See, why counsel matters. Other people who are not emotionally attached can see patterns you ignore. They can also see behaviors you excuse, warning signs you minimize, because they are not emotionally attached. I remember 20 years ago, one of the young people who Stephanie and I really took in started dating this person, and the person bought the young lady brought the person by Stephanie and I's home, and we met with them. And I remember Stephanie and I talked to a young lady after and said, "This is not the one. This is not the one." And we began to identify why. The person didn't listen. Ended up marrying the person, having a child by, and life was not what that person expected. Just the misery that was there, the problems, issues were there. Now, I understand the fact why they wanted to marry him. I understand they were emotionally attached, and that person didn't want to listen. I remember another couple I was taking through premarital counseling with them. I had recommended that they do not get married, and they wanted to be married. Got married, and a year or two later, the young lady reached out to me. "Why didn't you tell me how bad it would be?" And I was like, "I did." So you really want to make sure that you are, if you feel that you can't share this relationship with another person, meaning expose it to a mature person, a believer, then you already got a sign right there. Something could be wrong with it. See, ask yourself this: who knows about this relationship? Who has permission to speak into your relationship? Who can challenge you without you shutting down? You got to ask yourself these questions. Who can challenge me without me shutting down? Who really knows about it? Who do I trust to speak into my life regarding it? If you have nobody, guess what? You're already in a situation where you're going to end up being hurt. If the answer is no one, you are not discerning. You are deciding alone. And we really want to make sure that you are walking in discernment. Now, here's the thing. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your heart." Discernment includes recognizing peace, but often peace is misunderstood. Peace is not excitement. It's not chemistry. It's not emotional intensity. See, oftentimes we think that we are in peace because, hey, we're always excited, we have a good time, or we think we have chemistry with the person, or everything's exciting. Everything's exciting. We go here. I'm on a roller coaster up and down. That's not peace. That's not peace at all. Peace is steady. It's steadiness. Peace is clarity. Peace is alignment. That's what you want. That's how you know when you're in peace. That's your state. You and him are going together. You all are moving in the same directions. You have clarity about what's going on. You're not confused. You're not wondering where we are. You're aligned together. See, you got to ask yourself the questions. Is there peace or is there pressure? What does pressure sound like? Pressure sound like, I don't want to lose them. If I don't want them to have nobody else but me. If I don't do this now, I may not get married. This is my only chance. We've come too far. We've done so much. We can't stop now. That's pressure, family. All that is pressure. And see, pressure rushes decisions, while discernment slows them down. So you don't want to be in pressure. You want to be in peace. See, here's the thing. If you have to rush to secure it, you may not be ready to sustain it. If you got to rush to secure it, you may not be ready to sustain it. See, that reminds me. I remember my what I call my birth pastor, Pastor John Cherry, always said, if you got to make a decision and you are anxious about it, you don't have to make that decision right now. God doesn't want you to be anxious if you feel pressure. It's almost like, you get that, you walk in that store, or you walk in that, you walk in that store, that dealership, and they say, do it now. It won't be around much longer. I learned at that point, I back away, because I don't want to be pressured. I don't want to respond or be led by pressure. If I don't want to do that with just my finances, why would we do that with my future? And that's where we are. A lot of us are making decisions out of pressure, thinking that, hey, if I don't give in to this person, I may never have a chance. I would submit to you, if someone's pressuring you in that way, it's not the person. It's almost like this. Remember we talked about a couple of weeks ago regarding the being pure in a relationship. If you're with someone and you've decided, hey, I'm going to be celibate in how I conduct myself, and if they are applying pressure on you, that's not the one. That's not the one. Because that person should be willing to respect your decision. If you're trying to learn or live a certain way, and they are not willing to allow you to live that way, that's not the one. Because you should be in peace. They should be in agreement and alignment with decisions you're going to make. And if they're not willing to do that, that's problematic. So I'll say it again. If you have to rush to secure it, you may not be raised to sustain it. Now let's look at some red flags that you can look at to see what you're doing. Proverbs 27:6 says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. See, discernment evaluates patterns, not promises. Discernment evaluates patterns, not promises. People often focus on what someone says, what someone could become, and what they hope will change. Let me say that again. People often focus on what someone says, what someone could become, what they hope will change. Think about this. Some of you watching me right now voted for a president off of what they said. Now, how you living with that right now? How you living with that right now? See what I'm saying? See, a lot of us go off of what people are saying, but not really looking at, not really discerning the person that's saying it. But discernment asks the question, what is consistently happening right now? I know what you're saying. What you might become also shows what you may not be. What they hope will change. No, discernment says what is consistently happening right now. If they've lied to me before, it's possibly they lying now. It's like the old story about the boy that cried wolf. See, when the wolf really showed up, no one came to believe him because they cried wolf so many times. That's what's happening a lot in today's society. We have people who are crying wolf. They've lied so much that you can't even believe them when truth shows up because they've lied so much. That's what you should look at in your relationships right now as well. If this person cannot tell you the truth, is not showing you truth, is not walking in truth, why are you going to believe them because they say something? See, evaluating patterns mean I look at conflict handling. I'm dealing with conflicts. You've been in situations where you've had issues with them. Do they listen or do they escalate? Do they take responsibilities or do they deflect? See, conflict reveals maturity. Again, we have a government right now that won't deal with conflict. They deflect instead of. That's how you know it's an immature government. It's the same thing in relationships. That's how you know you're in an immature relationship, that if every time you go to have a conversation with that person, they blow up. We talked about that last week. You got to make sure that if a person can't handle their anger, or always getting angry, they're not ready for the next level of it. Don't expose yourself to that. Don't expose yourself. Now here's the thing. There is growth in this. See, a 20-year-old is not going to be as mature as a 30-year-old. So a 20-year-old is learning how to deal with their anger. But you should see change in them as you identify issues or areas you don't like. A 30-year-old should have already dealt with their anger. If you got a 30-year-old person that you're trying to hang out with, but they blow off the handle, guess what? They're immature. They're immature. And you should not lock yourself up with them if they can't handle conflicts well. If they're not willing to listen. If they're always, it's always someone else's fault, never their fault. See, I expect that from a teenager saying that. I don't expect that from a 30-year-old saying that. Not only how they handle conflicts, what are their financial habits? See, how they handle money reflects their discipline, their priorities, and their stewardship. Are they paying their bills? Or are they dodging their billers? Think about it. Are they paying their bills? Or are they dodging their billers? See, I'm not talking about credit reports because here's the thing. We know that there are some social biases that affect how banks see certain people and rate their credit reports or rate their credit. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about their bills. Are they paying their bills? Are they paying them on time? Can they manage what they have? Are they good stewards over what they have? What's their priorities? Are their priorities to pay people they've already made promises to, or are their priorities to spend? And not everyone know how to manage money. And interesting, they may have to get help, and it's okay if they get help to do that. But we got to see, where are they? You need to know where they are, because if they can't manage one income, how are they going to manage two? So not only we look at how they deal with conflicts and financial habits, what are their speech patterns? What do I mean by that? How do they speak about other people? How do they talk about people? How do they talk about authorities? How do they talk about past relationships? Because speech reveals their heart. If in talking to their past relationships, they slander the person, call them out their name, guess what? They're gonna call you out your name. If you see them always having issues about talking about their authority, or again going back to, they come home and how was work today, and they're like, well, so and so said this, and so and so said that, or so and so this and that and everything else. Guess what? Maybe it's not the one. Maybe that person's not mature enough right now, because it's going to come out. Not only do we look at speech pattern, accountability. Do they accept correction? And this is key. Do they accept correction, or do they justify, avoid, or become defensive? Again, if it's never their fault, if it's always somebody else, is everyone else doing this? If they're always blaming someone else, or never taking responsibilities, I'm telling you, this is it's a setup. You do not want to be in relationship with them, because they're going to blame you for every issue that comes on or happens in that relationship. And where you all are supposed to be working together and submitting one to another, guess what? They won't be able to do it. They will not be able to do it. See, a lack of accountability is a major warning sign. It's a major warning sign. If they won't take responsibility for what they're doing, if they're unwilling to go out and share and get counsel for what they're doing, it's a problem. Do not commit to someone based on their words. Commit based on their patterns. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Don't commit to someone based upon their words. Watch them. Observe them. Where's the pattern? We talked about this before, that trust is a time-tested attribute. You got to watch. You got to learn. You got to see the pattern. And if you begin to see these red flags, back away. Why? It's easy to back away. Why? Because you're not having sex. It's hard to back away when you're sexually active, because we talked before, you're emotionally tied, you're emotionally bound, and we need to make sure that you're pulled away. Pull away, because where you're going is not going to change. It's going to go ahead and get worse. So now we got, as we look at this, you need discernment. And we talked about that wise counsel, community confirmation. Look for community confirmation. Hebrews 10:24 and 5 says, let us consider how to stir up one another Discernment is strengthened in community. Community does not choose your person you're with, but community help confirms what you may not see. Community doesn't choose. You don't, prayerfully, you're not going to be in an arranged marriage or an arranged relationship. But community, see how they interact. See how they're going around, not just with your hangout buddy, but in church. See what's going on. See how they worked with it. Let the community help you identify. See, a healthy community affirms what is right. A healthy community will question what is unclear. A healthy community challenges what is concerning. Now, here's the thing. Again, you don't have to share all your business with the community, but the community can easily see what's not right. A community can help you understand the way and the way you should go. Don't be afraid. If the person you are interested in does not want to meet your friends, does not want to hang out with people you know in the community, then maybe that person is not the person for you, because there is a reason why they don't want to do it. Or you'll get, I'm mothers like me, so I don't have to go. No, go and see. Let them spend time. Let them have a conversation. Don't hide them. Don't hide them. A lot of times, we're afraid to bring people to. We're afraid to bring people around others, family members, because they're going to give them the third degree. Third degree might be a good thing. Third degree might be a great thing, actually. Allow it to happen. See, if multiple trusted voices are raising concerns, don't dismiss it. Don't dismiss it. Pay attention to it. See, do not dismiss it. Do not minimize it. Do not isolate further. This may be God's way of telling you that's not the one. Remember I said before, God has not magically set a soulmate for you, but God will let you know if the person that you decided to look at isn't right for you, isn't suitable for you. And so we have to make sure that we are doing these things. Why? Because discernment oftentimes comes through confirmation. You saw something. You saw something. It's like, well, something ain't quite right. And because you're sitting out here saying, well, based upon my age, I really want to be in this, I'm going to look over it. No. Don't do that. 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 Discernment will oftentimes come through confirmation. See, but here's the thing. Community is not control, but it is protection. Again, the community is not making a decision for you. They're helping you make your decision. See, true discernment requires or thrives in light. In light. If you want to have a true understanding, you really seek wisdom, you got to apply light on it. True understanding comes when you are in bright light. That's why they do surgery in well-lit rooms. Why? They want to see what's going on. And so true discernment thrives in light. Secrecy weakens discernment. Secrecy weakens discernment. Why? Because secrecy protects confusions. But it's interesting, God is not the author of confusion. So if confusion is being protected, then it's not of God. Secrecy protects unhealthy patterns. Secrecy protects poor decision. See, you're not sharing about this person you're with and some of the details about this person because you don't want to embarrass them. But if it can embarrass them, why do you want to be a part of it? Think about that. Think about that. It's okay to bring them around the community so they can be asked, how many times have you been married? How many children do you have? How many children do you have from different people? These are questions that you may not want to have asked if you bring them around because it's going to embarrass them. Well, maybe you don't need to be in there a part of their life if they're going to get embarrassed about that, if they're going to get angry about that. See, secrecy protects confusion, but light exposes truth. Light brings clarity. See, what you really want is you want to bring it out because you want that honest conversation. You want to be able to have honest conversation with these people. You want to make sure that you have visible relationships. You want to make sure that you have an accountability structure in place. When things are hidden, problems grow. Think about that. Think about it. You plant a seed in a dark dirt and it grows. That's when problem the same way. When you plant that seed of problems and secrecy about the relationship in the ground, problem is going to grow. When things are in the light, wisdom grow. They get the nutrients, the nourishment that they need. When things are in the light, wisdom grows. When things are in the dark or hidden, problem grows. See, family, we want to make sure that as we go through that entire unmarried process, from the time we talked about at the very beginning about God not choosing your mate, but the cares of the unmarried, unto the Lord, how you may please Him, and then through that whole process, we've learned some things. We've learned that how to be undivided. We learn how to understand suitability, how to date with purpose, how to walk in purity, how to heal, and how to walk in agreement. Now we must apply discernment to all this. You got to apply wisdom to all this, because all that preparation means nothing if you ignore wisdom at the point of at that point of decisions. We've now gone through 6 weeks of how to walk in the unmarried state. We've taken you step by step to be in position, to grow, to understand what to do when you get in it, how to make sure that when you're in it, you're doing the right thing, you're walking in agreement, how now to discern when it's time to get out or when to step into it and go to the next level. We've gone through all this. We've taken the time. You've seen the clips. You've gone back to my page. You've watched individual things. You're in charge of this thing. You're now ready to move forward in this. You can see clearly. I want you to seek counsel. I want you to make sure you follow what leads you towards God, and that is discernment. I'm happy to help you in that area. If you're watching me right now and you say, hey, elder, I'm in a relationship, I need help, I'm not quite sure, reach out. No judgments. No judgments. I'll be happy to look at where you are, happy to talk with both of you all to make sure that where you are, you're in line to where God wants you to be. Y'all growing, y'all going, and y'all can end up getting married. This whole purpose of this sexual relationship was to make sure that you are truly in that unmarried state, that you're truly walking in singleness. Why? Because as we go into next week and we talk about how to have a successful marriage, we're going to get deeper into this about marriage. But before you get into the marriage, you got to be the unmarried. And as you're unmarried, you got to go through and make sure that you are making that relationship that you're in thrives in light and not in secrecy. That's the key. You've gone through the other 5 and now you're in the 6th. Make sure, have the discernment to realize that you're striving in light and not in secrecy. Family, I want to thank you for taking the time over the last 6 weeks talking about looking at the unmarried state. Continue in this. Relationships continue. Next week, we're going to talk about marriage. We're going to begin jumping into marriage to make sure your marriage is on a firm foundation. Hey, before we close, I want to do like I always do. I want to offer up a call. I want to make sure that everybody that's watching this right now has accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. If you're listening to me and you have not done that, if you have not made him Lord of your life, it's really simple to do. Romans 10:9 tells us that if we confess with our mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in our heart that God has raised him from the dead, that we shall be saved. We're going to do that right now with a simple prayer. I want you to pray this prayer after me. It says, Lord Jesus, I confess that you are Lord. I believe that in my heart that God raised you from the dead. Forgive me, save me, and lead my life. Guess what? If you've prayed that prayer, you're as saved as I am. Find yourself a good Bible-believing, Bible-teaching church that can teach you how to do these things, that can provide community for you, that you can bring the person by so they can look at this person and help you examine this person you're interested in. Hey, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to my YouTube page. And I pray this has been a blessing to you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. God bless you. Peace.